The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
Tonight on Politics Now, we have a president-elect. Reaction from the candidates as Joe Biden is declared the winner.
And all eyes have been on Nevada, how the counting is going in a state that kept the election tight for days.
Plus, the balance of power in Carson City, the ground Republicans appear to have made up, and what it means for a Democratic agenda.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now.
Tonight, Nevada is still counting the votes, but the presidential race has been called by news outlets. Joe Biden is the next president of the United States. Thank you for joining us on Politics Now. I'm John Langler.
And I'm Vanessa Murphy. We have a lot to get into tonight. President-elect Joe Biden gave a speech tonight saying he would be a president to all Americans.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify. Who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. And work with all my heart, with the confidence of the whole people, to win the confidence of all of you.
Every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition. Lead with conviction.
Biden received the most votes ever for a presidential candidate, 74 million. After the Associated Press and the networks called the race this morning, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris made this historic phone call.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Harris is checking off a bunch of firsts for a vice president. She will be the first female, first Black American, first Asian American, and Indian American to hold the job.
So after days of waiting and counting, let's look at how we got here. Now, we should point out this map has not yet been updated to show Pennsylvania and Nevada. So take that into account because the former vice president is now beyond 270 electoral votes. But it was this morning Pennsylvania and Nevada were declared for the former vice president, pushing him beyond 270 electoral votes. Biden slowly grew his lead here in Nevada with each new batch of numbers. The difference between the two candidates now about 26,000 votes. That lead is being driven by Clark County, and as you can see on your screen there, a good chunk of the votes for him coming here from southern Nevada. Another interesting statistic from Nevada's presidential race, Latino decisions. Look at your screen here. It reports 235,000 Latinos cast votes in Nevada. 68% of that vote went to Joe Biden. Vanessa?
President Donald Trump's reaction to the Associated Press calling the election has remained the same, alleging there is voter fraud in races he is losing. Here's what Trump said earlier this week.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio.
Trump went on to blame tech companies, polls, and the media for losing votes as the counting continues. While Nevada has been called for Biden, not all the votes have been counted yet. Slow but steady and accurate has been the mantra for Clark County election workers. Numbers have been released twice a day, once in the morning and once in the late afternoon. We learned about 23,000 votes were counted since yesterday, and there are almost 100,000 more that still need to be counted. As far as the fraud being alleged by Republicans, Clark County Registrar Joe Gloria says they are looking into any reports.
We do have some reports that have come in that we're logging, we're reporting, and we're definitely going to do an investigation, and we'll deal with them once the canvass is finished. The votes are in the system at this point, so we'll have to, after the election, post-election, go after anything that's been reported at this time.
Gloria says he expects to have the rest of the mail ballots counted by tomorrow. Mail ballots postmarked by November 3rd will be accepted until the 10th. Then all the counting must be finished by the 12th.
After the race was called, Biden supporters across the country took to the streets to celebrate his victory. Here in Las Vegas, there was this car parade at the Commercial Center District along Sahara. It was organized by the Biden Nevada team. There were more celebrations scheduled for the weekend as well. Meanwhile, President Trump's supporters still protest outside the Clark County Election Department headquarters up in North Las Vegas. They've been there every day since the election, carrying signs and chanting, "Stop the Steal." The group questions the ballot counting process in Nevada, and we're going to talk about that more in just a moment. Vanessa?
First, let's take a quick look at the other big races in Nevada. Democrat Congresswoman Dina Titus and Republican Congressman Mark Amodei easily held on to their seats. In Congressional District 3, incumbent Democrat Susie Lee will hold on to her seat. The Associated Press called that race this morning. Lee is ahead by about 12,000 votes. This was the closest of the congressional races. It covers northwestern Las Vegas.
In Congressional District 4, incumbent Democrat Stephen Horsford looks like he's going to hold on to his seat against Republican challenger Jim Marchant. That seat covers North Las Vegas and parts of Lincoln and Nye County.
And in a race that is still too close to call, the Clark County Commission may have its first Republican since Bruce Woodbury left in 2008. Right now, Las Vegas City Councilman Stavros Anthony is hanging on to a lead of about 190 votes over Democrat Ross Miller. Miller was formerly Secretary of State in Nevada.
And we're going to talk more about the races a little bit later on in the program. For now, though, let's dig more into those allegations of voter fraud. Vanessa, you've been covering this for several weeks.
Yeah, as you heard a minute ago, President Trump has continued to make claims about voter fraud, even saying the election would be stolen in Nevada. As the I-Team has been reporting, election officials and leaders in law enforcement tell us it's not widespread and it's rare, but if they receive credible allegations, they'll investigate them. I talked with Deputy Secretary of State for Elections Wayne Thorley on Wednesday and asked him about voter fraud. And leading up to the election, I talked with both the FBI and the U.S. Postal Inspection about it. Here's what they said.
Any evidence of voter fraud in Nevada so far?
No, no evidence whatsoever of coordinated, widespread voter fraud. We have received a handful of complaints with some allegations. Again, they're just allegations at this point, unproven, that we're looking into, but no evidence of voter fraud.
And when you say we're looking into, is that just the Secretary of State's office, or is that when you pull in perhaps the FBI, whoever else?
So yes, it's we're pulling in our partner agencies on the Election Integrity Task Force. That includes the FBI, state and local police. So yes, it's a joint effort between multi-jurisdictional.
Is it widespread in Nevada?
I wouldn't say it's widespread. I would say that we get reports every year, every election cycle, of potential voter fraud situations, and we investigate them thoroughly, and we hold the people, if it's proven, then we hold them accountable through the U.S. Attorney's Office.
From your department's perspective, is voter fraud widespread through the mail?
No, as of right now, I am unaware of any credible reports of any voter fraud being committed through the mail.
On Wednesday, when I asked Thorley to specify a number about how many allegations of voter fraud were being investigated, he said less than 10. I reached out to the Department of Justice Friday to find out any updates about any allegations of voter fraud and did not receive a response. And there are also concerns about how to confirm your mail ballot was received. There are 2 websites where you can do that. We have links at 8newsnow.com. If you mailed in your ballot, as we've been reporting, it may not have been counted yet. So now let's move on to signature verification, which is at the heart of some of those Trump campaign lawsuits. It's a small percentage of ballots that have to go through the process to confirm their signature, which is also known as signature curing. Here's how the process works. The mail ballot is scanned in a machine to make sure the signature matches what's on file, either from voter registration, a previous ballot the voter signed, or even a driver's license. There have to be multiple and significant differences in order for the signature to be rejected. Then at least 2 election workers review the signature. If they believe the signature cannot be verified, they must reach out to the voter to give the voter a chance to confirm the signature is theirs. They can use an app through the Secretary of State's office or answer personal questions through the registrar's office. And if that happens, the signature is then cured and the ballot is counted. Here's what Deputy Secretary of State Wayne Thorley told me about that Wednesday.
We'll still be waiting on some of these cures to come in. So it's a very drawn out process. And we tried to prepare voters and the public and candidates for that after the passage of Assembly Bill 4, that look, election results are going to take much longer than usual to become final. And it's simply because of these extra processes the legislature put in place.
Voters have until November 12th to cure their ballots. Now, here are the latest Clark County numbers from the Secretary of State's office. Nearly 6,000 ballots have needed curing. Just over 1% of ballots cast. Nearly 4,500 were successfully cured so far, and about 1,500 still need to be.
Coming up, a blind woman who says her ballot was stolen.
I know I did not vote, and I'm not going to have this taken away from me.
The I-Team's David Charnes broke the story of Jill Stokey. Now she's at the center of a lawsuit filed by Republicans. It's next.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
It is unacceptable in this country to have illegal votes counted, and that is what's happening in the state of Nevada.
That is Nevada Trump campaign co-chair and former Attorney General here, Adam Laxalt, who announced a 4th lawsuit on Thursday, claiming illegal votes were being cast. However, did not provide any evidence of widespread voter fraud at that time. Vanessa?
One person who did speak at that press conference was a blind woman named Jill Stokey. Our I-Team has been looking into these lawsuits and alleged voter fraud across Nevada, and Stokey reached out to us Monday. David Charnes was the one who broke her story earlier this week, and he's here with more. David.
Well, Vanessa, we broke that story on Jill Stokey. She's legally blind and needs assistance to vote, but when she went to go vote early a couple weeks ago, she was told she had already voted. Stokey showed us the device she uses to help her see. She says she went to vote in person, but was told that her mail-in ballot had been sent in and that the signatures matched. Now, she's part of that federal lawsuit to stop Clark County from using its signature matching machine, but a judge denied an emergency motion for that on Friday. Stokey is adamant she did not vote and believes her ballot was stolen. Now, speaking Thursday, Clark County Registrar Joe Gloria didn't go as far to say that Stokey is lying, but said that in their mind, she voted.
I personally dealt with Ms. Stoke. She brought her claim to me. We reviewed the ballot, and in our opinion, it's her signature. We also gave her an opportunity to provide a statement if she wanted to object to that and provide a challenge to that. She refused to do so. A member of the Nevada Secretary of State's office investigation team also interviewed her, and they had no issue with the assistance that we tried to give her. I have nothing else to comment on that. Next question.
You heard that reporter say, do you think she's lying? Now, this lawsuit also alleged roughly 10,000 people who cast ballots here in Nevada no longer live here. It also claimed that dead voters voted. However, on Friday, lawyers provided no evidence about those claims. And in that hearing Friday, they didn't even bring those claims up to the judge. We have asked repeatedly to see that evidence. Vanessa, I know you have asked as well, and we have not seen it. Vanessa?
And David, the lawsuit Stokey is involved in was denied a preliminary injunction to stop counting Friday, right?
Yeah, so they'd alleged that the signature verification system that you've reported on was using lower quality images than the software requires, but that federal judge denied their motion to put a stop to the counting or change any rules about how the observation process is going. John?
All right, we'll keep an eye on it, David. Republicans make some headway. Next on Politics Now, we break down the shifting balance of power in Carson City. And 3 new faces join the Clark County School District Board. We're going to examine the sometimes fractured group and how it'll look moving forward. Welcome back. 8 News Now is also keeping an eye on the balance of power up in Carson City. Democrats control the state Senate and the state Assembly, but they appear to be losing some of that control. I-Team reporter David Charnes looks at the balance of power up in Carson City. David, good to see you.
Nice to see you. So we are waiting for those final results to come in. Remember that those results by mail-in ballot can come in through next Tuesday. One of the most important races in the state legislature is still swinging in the balance, but this is how it looks right now. So let's take a look. Democrats, we know, will still hold power in Carson City, but Republicans did gain some ground. In the state Senate, it looks like Democrats will have 12 seats to the 9 Republican ones, but that's still up in the air as these races are called. In the state Assembly, Democrats may lose 3 seats. They still will have control, but it's no longer a super majority. They'll be down to 26-16. Let's take a look at some of these closer races now. In Senate District 6, this is Northwest Las Vegas. It's a nail-biter right now. State Senate Majority Leader Nicole Cannizzaro has taken about a few hundred-vote lead right now over her Republican opponent, April Becker. Becker led for the first few days after the election. District 5 is an open seat in Henderson. Right now it's leaning Republican. Kerry Buck leading by about 1,000 votes. A closer look at those state assembly races. Republican Heidi Kasama won this one in District 2. Republican Richard MacArthur running ahead of Democrat incumbent Connie Monk in District 4. Up in Washoe County, District 31, Democrat Skip Daly lost his seat to his Republican challenger, Jill Ann Dickman, is real close there. And District 37, Shea Backus likely losing her seat to Andy Matthews. Review Journal political editor and Channel 8 political analyst Steve Sebelius tells us this means Democrats won't be able to push as much through the State House. They're going to need to make some concessions.
Since we have a Democratic governor, really the supermajority is important for 2 reasons. One, you can override a governor's veto, but in this case, a veto isn't likely since Democrats hold the governor's mansion and both houses of the legislature. So really the only other major thing that requires a 2/3 vote is raising taxes. And we saw that happen in the special session in which Democrats raised taxes with ease in the Assembly and ran into trouble in the Senate. They did it anyway in the Senate with a simple majority. Now that, of course, is being challenged in court. So without that supermajority, if it comes to tax increases, they would have to have Republican cooperation for that. And as we saw in the special session, they didn't really get that.
And it looks like Nicole Cannizzaro will hang on to that seat, but as the top Democrat in the legislature here in Nevada, that was a seat Republicans really targeted. John, we saw those ads all over TV.
A lot of attention poured onto that one. And it's interesting because one of the things that was talked about in the special session over the summer was police reform bills that might get passed up in Carson City. Cannizzaro has a lot of strong support from police unions and lobbyists. They played a big role in those bills back in 2019. She's a deputy district attorney in Clark County as well. So we'll see how all that plays out when the legislature is back in session. Vanessa.
Well, the Clark County School District Board of Trustees is about to have a new look as well. If the results hold, it will have 3 new faces and all of the members will be women. In District A, Lisa Guzman has a lead over Liberty Levitt. In District B, vocal Trump supporter Katie Williams has beaten Jeff Proffitt. Evelyn Garcia Morales leads Tamika Henry in District C. It appears School Board President Lola Brooks is keeping her seat. She leads teacher Alexis Salt in District E. 8 News Now reporter Kristen Drummond spoke with the presumptive winners about the election.
If the results stay the same, it will once again be all women on the board, with at least 3 new faces because longtime board members are terming out. But a few presumptive winners are hesitant to declare victory just yet.
We're going to wait until every vote is counted.
Cautiously optimistic.
We're excited and we're hopeful.
Clark County School Board of Trustee candidates Evelyn Garcia Morales and Lisa Guzman stand by for the official election results.
I do want to wait and see what the votes say.
But Katie Williams seems confident about her position.
I actually spoke to Dr. Jara this morning. He called me and congratulated me. He was very nice and cordial on the phone.
These women are the likely new members joining the board next year. potentially bringing a different dynamic after personality conflicts and division over the superintendent's leadership seem to create tension in recent months.
Well, I hope it's different.
They're being elected during an uncertain time as the district navigates the pandemic's economic and academic fallout, an issue the women seem ready to address now, but approach differently when it comes to students and staff returning to the classroom.
There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to reopening schools right now, especially without a lot of information and a lot of data.
I would like schools to be open fully.
Ready to bring their perspectives and lead this new era of education. Kristen Drummond, 8 News Now.
CCSD School Board President Lola Brooks did send us a statement on the state of the race. She says, quote, "I'm happy with the preliminary results and broad support I've received during the election. I hope to continue representing District E and students and families here in Clark County." Next on Politics Now, we take a closer look at the tight race for a seat on the Nevada Supreme Court. This is 8 News Now.
There was a hard-fought judicial race we want to highlight, the race for a Nevada Supreme Court seat. Current Clark County District Court Judge Douglas Herndon has a comfortable lead over Assemblyman and Attorney Ozzie Fumo. That had the most money raised of any of the judicial races. Herndon outraised Fumo and also got the help and endorsement of current Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson. As you know from filling out your ballots, this was the longest ballot Clark County ever had. Part of that was due to so many judicial races that were on it. So we have the most up-to-date minute results on 8newsnow.com.
All right, so there are a couple of key election dates we're keeping an eye on this week. It is in this week's What to Watch. On Tuesday at 5, that is the deadline for a mail-in ballot to arrive and be counted, and it still has to be postmarked by Election Day. We really don't know how many extra mail-in ballots will come in during the next few days, but we'll be watching. And November 16th is the day the official final results in the election will be determined after canvassing. A canvassing board meets to determine the status of all provisional and challenged ballots and then certifies the election results. And at that point, the 2020 election will finally be over. Thank you for watching Politics Now. We're here every Saturday.
Good night.